Picture this: a land teeming with rich cultures, vibrant trade, and powerful kingdoms suddenly finds itself under the shadow of a foreign power. The story of Britain's colonial rule over Nigeria is not merely a tale of conquest and control, it is also one of resistance, adaptation, and transformation. Join us as we journey back in time to unravel the complex tapestry of events that led to the British Empire's dominion over Nigeria, a saga marked by ambition, conflict, and profound change. Before we delve into the heart of our story, let's take a moment to imagine a scene. Picture a bustling Nigerian marketplace in the late 1800s. The air is thick with the scent of spices, the chatter of traders, and the vibrant colors of traditional attire. Now imagine a group of British officials dressed in stiff uniforms, observing this scene with a mixture of curiosity and condescension. Little did they know that their presence would set off a chain of events that would forever change the course of Nigerian history. How did a diverse and culturally rich land like Nigeria become a British colony? What were the key moments and figures in this dramatic transformation? Join us as we uncover the intriguing story of Britain's colonial rule over Nigeria. Historical background. Before the British arrived, Nigeria was a land of diverse kingdoms and cultures. From the powerful Oyo Empire to the sophisticated city-states of the Igbo, the region was a mosaic of thriving civilizations. However, the mid-19th century marked the beginning of a new era. In 1861, the British Empire annexed Lagos, setting the stage for greater control. By 1884, the Oil Rivers Protectorate was established, signifying Britain's increasing influence in the Niger area. The Berlin Conference of 1885, where European powers divided Africa, officially recognized Britain's dominance in Nigeria. The Colonial Invasion from 1886 to 1899, much of Nigeria was governed by the Royal Niger Company, led by George Tubman Goldie. This company, operating under a royal charter, controlled trade and administration in the region. However, in 1900, the Southern Nigeria Protectorate and Northern Nigeria Protectorate were transferred from company control to the British Crown. Under the guidance of Governor Frederick Lugard, the two territories were amalgamated in 1914, forming the Colony and Protectorate of Nigeria. Despite this unification, the regions maintained considerable autonomy, reflecting Nigeria's diverse ethnic and cultural landscape. Impact on Nigeria. British rule imposed a bureaucratic and autocratic system of governance. The administration and military control were primarily in the hands of white Britons. The economic system was designed to exploit African labor, with the British pound sterling becoming the standard currency. Nigerians were taxed, and their labor was harnessed to benefit the British economy. The amalgamation of various ethnic and religious groups into a single entity created internal tensions that persist to this day. Origins of British influence. In the 1700s, European powers, including the British, had settlements along the West African coast. Adam Smith, in 1776, noted that African societies were well established and populous, presenting a formidable barrier to European expansion. By 1787, the British had founded the Sierra Leone colony for freed slaves and were actively involved in missionary movements. Local leaders, aware of British expansionist tendencies, often resisted treaties that could lead to colonization. Slave trade and abolition. European slave trading began in the mid-17th century, with West Africa becoming a significant hub. By the late 18th century, the Bight of Benin and Lagos were major as slave ports. From 1790 to 1807, British traders purchased thousands of slaves annually. In 1807, the British Parliament enacted the Slave Trade Act, prohibiting British participation in the Atlantic slave trade. Britain lobbied other European powers to follow suit and made anti-slavery treaties with West African leaders, often enforcing them militarily. Despite the abolition of the slave trade, smuggling continued for years. Whether British conquest aimed to end slavery or to exploit wealth remains a topic of debate. Nonetheless, slavery had decimated populations and fueled chaos, paving the way for colonization. Missionaries and commerce. Missionaries played a crucial role in shaping colonial Nigeria. From the 1840s, they established missions, schools, and hospitals, spreading Christianity and European values. Figures like Samuel Ajayi Crowther, the first Anglican bishop of the Niger, were pivotal in these efforts. The legitimate trade in palm oil and kernels replaced the slave trade. By 1840, palm oil exports were worth over £1 billion annually, transforming the economy of southern Nigeria. However, the local incidence of slavery increased as labor demands grew. Exploration was key to British expansion. Explorers like Mungo Park and Richard Lander navigated the Niger River despite facing immense challenges. Their efforts opened the interior for trade and eventual colonization. Lagos, annexed in 1861, became a bustling cosmopolitan port. British administrators imposed peace among warring Yoruba states and expanded British influence. The colony's architecture reflected its diverse population, with influences from Brazil and Sierra Leone. The British colonial period in Nigeria lasted until 1960, leaving a profound legacy. The amalgamation of diverse groups, the economic exploitation, and the introduction of Western education and Christianity have all shaped modern Nigeria, the early 20th century, consolidation and resistance. As the 20th century dawned, Britain's grip on Nigeria tightened. The unification of the northern and southern protectorates in 1914 was a strategic move designed to streamline administration and consolidate British control. This merger, orchestrated by Lord Frederick Lugard, ignored the vast cultural, linguistic and religious differences between the northern and southern regions, planting the seeds for future discord. While British officials sat in air-conditioned offices planning Nigeria's future, the reality on the ground was far more complex. Nigeria was a mosaic of ethnic groups and cultures, each with its own distinct identity. The Hausa Fulani in the north, predominantly Muslim, operated under a system of emirs and caliphates. The Yoruba in the southwest had their own kingdoms, such as Oyo and Ife, with intricate systems of governance. The Igbo in the southeast, largely decentralized, were organized into autonomous communities. British policies often ignored these intricacies, imposing Western-style governance structures that clashed with indigenous systems. This dissonance created tension and at times outright rebellion. From the Aba Women's Riot in 1929, where women protested against unfair taxation and colonial policies, to the various uprisings across the north and west, resistance against British rule was never far from the surface. These acts of defiance highlighted the growing discontent among Nigerians, setting the stage for a more organized push for independence. Economic exploitation and social changes. The British colonial administration was primarily driven by economic interests. Nigeria's vast natural resources, including palm oil, cocoa, and later petroleum, were exploited to fuel Britain's industrial needs. The colonial economy was structured to benefit British industries, with little regard for the economic development of Nigeria itself. Nigerian workers toiled in harsh conditions, whether on plantations, in mines, or on infrastructure projects. The introduction of cash crops disrupted traditional agricultural practices, leading to food shortages and economic instability in some regions. Despite these challenges, Nigerians began to organize themselves, forming trade unions and other associations to fight for better wages and working conditions. The economic exploitation of Nigeria by Britain was paralleled by significant social changes. Missionary activities brought Western education and Christianity to many parts of Nigeria, altering the social fabric and creating new elites who would later play pivotal roles in the struggle for independence. Educated Nigerians, many of whom had studied abroad, began to question the legitimacy of colonial rule. Figures like Nnamdi Azikiwe, Obafemi Awolowo, and Ahmadu Bello emerged as leaders who articulated the aspirations of their people and demanded greater political representation. The road to independence. The end of World War II marked a turning point in the colonial history of Nigeria. The war had weakened Britain's economic and military power while also inspiring nationalist movements worldwide. In Nigeria, political parties and movements sprang up, each advocating for self-determination and an end to colonial rule. The Nigerian Youth Movement, the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, NCNC, and other political organizations mobilized the masses, organizing rallies, strikes, and petitions. These movements were characterized by a blend of radical and moderate strategies, with leaders like Azikiwe and Awolowo pushing for constitutional reforms and greater autonomy. The quest for independence was not without its challenges. Ethnic and regional differences threatened to derail the nationalist movement as political leaders vied for power and influence in post-colonial Nigeria. Independence and legacy. On October 1, 1960, Nigeria finally achieved independence, ending over 6 decades of British colonial rule. The Union Jack was lowered and the Nigerian flag was hoisted, symbolizing a new era of self-governance and national pride. As Nigerians celebrated their newfound freedom, the legacies of colonial rule lingered. The artificial borders drawn by the British, the economic structures designed to serve foreign interests, and the social divisions exacerbated by colonial policies all posed significant challenges for the fledgling nation. Nigeria's journey to independence was a testament to the resilience and determination of its people. However, the scars of colonialism would take decades to heal, influencing the nation's political and social landscape in profound ways. As we reflect on Nigeria's colonial past, it is crucial to recognize the resilience and strength of its people. Despite the hardships and injustices endured, Nigerians have continually strived for a better future. The journey from colonial rule to independence is a powerful reminder of the enduring human spirit and the quest for self-determination. The echoes of this colonial past continue to reverberate in Nigeria today, shaping its political, social, and economic landscapes. Understanding this history is essential not only to comprehend the present, but also to chart a path forward that honors the diverse and rich heritage of Nigeria. Join us in our next installment as we explore the post-colonial era, examining how Nigeria navigated the challenges of independence and the ongoing efforts to build a united, prosperous nation.